So here we are now. We're out fox territory, 18-week-old patterjackdachstaffhund bull terriers and the 3-year-old patterdale terrier. Ground's wet, the weather's wet, so the light's not shining very well. So we're in fox territory here. Drop off. So 4.5 months, 18 weeks. So these dogs are for sale. $10,000. And they need a certain kind of life. They need to be brought to places like this, where we're going for probably a 7k walk, but we may go for longer. It's very wet. The ground's very wet. See the water droplets? It's wet. I apologise about the light. The pups have chewed my good LED lens head torch. And then in a chase, we lost the my other LED lens torch that I always have on my hip. So I just got this cheap one with a blue light because I put some WD-40 in it to get it to work. Got it working, but now the light's blue. So this is Mum, Patterdale Terrier. Here are the 4 pups. And you know, this is where we are. We're deep in the bush. Now, this is fox territory. There's multiple fox sightings here. Never had any reports of a den being sighted. So we come here a lot, but we've never actually laid eyes on a fox here. We've heard them. We picked up the trail. And we've gone through places where a rabbit couldn't even get to after these foxes. Possibly feral cats. Now we don't want to catch and kill anything, because then we don't need to deal with the death and we can just go home. Dogs get in the car a little bit dirty, dry them off with a towel, use a cleansing wipe if necessary. Oh, there's a photo. That was just a cane toad and I just flicked it out of the way so the dogs didn't see it. Probably should have gotten out one of my poo bags and picked it up. We're out here. If we're going to engage in hunting activity for feral animals, then the cane toad is a feral animal. I really should have picked that up instead of flicking it off into the bushes. So these dogs are for sale, and I've been putting people through a vetting process, and it doesn't go very far because people don't understand that these are hunting dogs. For going underneath the ground into a fox den or a badger den and fighting that quarry, not prey, quarry, something that fights back. Not prey just to eat it, but quarry. Okay, that's what they're bred for. Going underneath the ground into the den of an animal that will fight back. Now in Australia, then foxes are very clearly vermin, as are rabbits. So we can hunt them with conscience. And if we ever do catch anything, we'll use the entire animal. But fortunately, we don't have to deal with that. We don't catch anything. You know, I bring them to places where there's not much chance of catching anything, but we get all the stimulation. So you see how we're walking along a path here, and we walk along this path for kilometers and kilometers, and they'll pick up the scent on something and they'll go off after it. We'll come along to some drains, we'll find some holes in the ground, we'll find evidence of where there have been feral animals active, and we get the stimulation from that. So if you want to have a terrier or a dachshund, then you must understand and acknowledge that that dog is an earth dog, for going underneath the ground and fighting its quarry under the ground. It also go under the ground and just kill its prey, no worries, but that's not what it's bred for. It's bred for going under the ground and fighting its quarry. Now, I bred these dogs specifically to be therapy dogs. Little Bon Scott here. Fantastic therapy dog. Hero is a fantastic therapy dog. Great. Fantastic for young kids and for old people. Boxer here is a fantastic therapy dog. They really reach people where human beings aren't going to reach them. We do some fantastic, meaningful work. Don't get paid for it. It's all charity. So I have a charity, Heart Dharma Foundation. So we just do it. That's what these dogs are in the world for. They are specifically bred to be therapy dogs. And this all came from me working with other people's dogs to rehabilitate them, and finding that the dachshunds and the terriers were going crazy because they are hunting dogs, bred to hunt under the ground. I didn't know that. I always grew up with farm working dogs. Didn't know about these dogs, never exposed to them. Not closely. I found a Dachshund Jack Russell. I thought it was going to be 6 weeks, really hard work. But he was showing incredible results. He was a different dog within hours. Definitely next day, definitely a few days later. Anyway, became friends with that dog, rehabilitated him. He was happy. Completely different dog. But I continued a friendship with that dog, and I realized just how incredible a friend these little hunting dogs can be, which I'm absolutely sure is part of their breed, part of their temperament, because they'll always be close to the humans. Always. Much more than even the gun dogs. Definitely more than the herding dogs, and definitely more than the shepherd dogs. Always very, very close to us. So if you want to have an earth dog as a pet, as your friend, as an assistance dog. Very difficult to have it as a assistance dog because they fail pretty much every test for the government standards, but therapy dog's different. And then you can have them still registered, licensed, so you can still take them on planes, take them anywhere. So now we're starting double back, so that's about 5 kilometres that we've done now. Take this path about 2 kilometres away from the car. And this is a path that we've came on, so we've already covered this path. So there's not much chance of finding anything new, but maybe can happen. But for all intents and purposes, these dogs are still hunting. They're out there hunting. There are foxes and feral cats in this area. More and more now where we're moving away from that because there are houses down there. So I'm just going for a walk with my dogs. There is training, we do training. I have done training before I started filming about calling them off, about keeping them together when there are noises or movement or something that might distract them, that might want them to break ranks. So I've done all that, but that's just normal training anyway. You don't need to train these dogs to engage. You need to train these dogs to disengage and to listen to your voice above everything else as the highest priority. Doesn't matter what's going on, the voice overrides. And this one here is impeccable like that. A 3-year-old Patterjack terrier, incredibly devoted. You see, for all intents and purposes, she's hunting. But she's going to stay close to me. So this is good for my health. No matter what physical exercise I do here, I feel like the benefit to my mind, my emotions, my heart as a emotional living spiritual human being, the health benefits are far more significant than the simple cardiovascular exercise or the resistance exercise for traipsing through the bush. As far as conservation is concerned, we're big on conservation. I should have picked up that cane toad. I normally would. Just didn't think about it because I was filming. We pick up rubbish. You get all kinds of rubbish in all kinds of places. You don't know how the hell that rubbish got there and what is the matter with human beings. And then we don't interfere or hurt or hunt native wildlife. Sometimes we do disturb some native wildlife, but we have never killed anything native, and nothing native has ever been at risk. And I chose to continue filming with this light because this is kind of what it's like. I can't really see much more than what you can see. Actually, that's about kind of what I'm seeing. And so it's stimulating. Get back to your most basic, fundamental, primal faculties. So you can buy one of these dogs if you want. They can't ever be left alone. They need a lot of engagement from human beings. And ideally they go everywhere with you. It can be okay as one dog, but I'm not really willing to let go of any of these dogs unless you already have a dog or you take two of these. And they are a particular kind of dog. You know, you take them down to the dog park. If there's a big chocolate Labrador that's aggressive towards them, just a pup, but a real fool, you know, and you're going to have a pup for 2 years if you have a chocolate Labrador, and one day they'll just come good and they'll start listening to you. If you take these dogs down to the dog park, whether they're all together or whether they're just alone, do separate them and take them for different training, then they'll fight back against those other dogs that are getting in their face more than this one will. And she's the boss of anywhere she goes. There's no two ways about it. So you have to understand that. And same for dachshunds. People don't treat their dachshunds properly, don't treat the terriers properly when it comes to this kind of stuff. They are hunting dogs for going underneath the ground, sniffing out, seeking out, locking on, and engaging. They expect support to come quite often. Patterdales don't necessarily expect support. They will engage, and it's more of a one-on-one kind of fight. But they act just the same as all the other terriers and the dachshunds. When there's a group of them, they sound the alarm, they bark loud, everyone moves to that position in all kinds of formations. The geometry is quite a beautiful thing to watch and observe. And they engage. They surround and engage. So by bringing my dogs out here to places like this, engaging them in hunting activity, getting their senses stimulated, occasionally letting them chase some hares, then they'll listen to me. Even here in Brisbane City, I take them down to South Bank. There's heaps of rats down there along the river walk. Heaps of rats. Right there in the gardens. Place stinks of rats, and then it stinks of possums in the trees. So you can tell the difference between the rat urine and the possum urine. It's very stimulating for them. Right in the middle of the city, walking along the river on lead. They think they're doing a real good job seeking out those rats, hunting them down, incredibly stimulated, very excited, very focused, very disciplined, and very attentive to every single syllable that I speak. Every step that I take, every movement that I make. Extremely attentive, extremely obedient. I can't demonstrate that here because I don't actually have anything to call them off. This is how you keep these dogs sane. Normally my videos are showing all kinds of different examples. Here we're just walking with very limited light. Can't even really see what we're doing, but that gives you a very clear representation of how it is for me, what my experience is. And I'll turn this light off. Right, so this is what I'm seeing, okay? I'm walking in the dark. This is how I'll go with them. So normally I only turn my lights on to do filming or to check something out. So it's incredibly inconvenient not having a really bright, really reliable head torch on my head with great zoom and control, and then not having a backup one on my hip, only having this other cheap one with a very irritating blue light. But we can still do 90% or 95% of the activity. And anyone who lives in the city with an earth dog can do this too. And a lot of people think they can't let their dogs off lead because they won't come back. Well, this is how you engage your dog, and you have that trust, and you have that relationship, and you have that bond with them, and you have that consistency with them. They trust you as much as you trust them. And you can have them off lead, any circumstance. Just a few words, I've got these dogs at my feet, looking at me, no matter what is going on or what is around. And we'll wrap it up there for now. One more look at him. You notice it's calm, quiet here. It's so quiet. This is the other thing. There's no wind. We were here about a week ago. Absolutely no wind. There's a moon up there. Absolutely no wind. There's no scent blowing anywhere. So it makes an ideal situation to be able to bring the dogs out here and get some good exercise, get them totally stimulated, allow them to separate and then regroup them, do all kinds of training, and see, they're all just here waiting for me. So if you do this, you get that consistency, then you can bring them out into different weather patterns, and you start to see those patterns, and you change behaviour accordingly, go to different places accordingly, and you've got control over your dog. Anyway, we'll wrap it up here. Over and out.